Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Ask Dr. Be Good show, the show where we delve into the politics, the pedagogy, and the practice around public education. As always, I ask that you let us know if you're watching the show live, leave your name and a comment. If you've got a question about what you're hearing, I'd be happy to respond. But, let your voice be heard. I like being interactive with the audience. So today we will have we're going to address different age groups. The first age group I want to address are the secondary kids who are either close to going to college or going to college in the fall. And there are certain college readiness practices that I've just got to tell you that very few parents are really putting in the think time with their kids that really should be going into where their child is going after they graduate high school. And there was an article that sort of caught my attention, and I know that this is not the first time some of you loyal fans have heard me talk about college readiness. I've done multiple podcasts on it. I've had college readiness counselors come and talk about what 8th grade looks like, 9th grade, 10th grade, and so forth. With my eternal hopes that parents will feel motivated to ask their child more questions and ask their school and their school counselors more questions about how their child is being prepared for college readiness after graduation. So the article that caught my attention was from U.S. News and World Report, and it's 12 ways to prepare your freshmen for their college this summer. Right? They're going to college in the fall. But really, when I started reading their tips, and there's 16 of them, we're not going to get through 16, but I will be happy to share how to get to the article. A lot of these things are not to be waited for the summer before college starts. Really, it should be happening now if your child is in middle school, if your child is, in high school. These are not just the summer before. But here was a good one that really does pertain to if your kid's going to college in the fall. And that is to find out what the latest COVID protocols are for their college. I know some of us think that the COVID world is, that's sort of behind us. We're not wearing masks. Well, not in educational institutions. The different colleges will have different COVID protocols, and many of them are requiring, by the way, vaccines. Some of you may know, because you already have college kids, that colleges require different vaccines anyway. Trying to think of the one, I think it's meningitis. One of them, you must have it. I mean, you must take that vaccine if you're going to go to that college, even if you do it online, by the way. So them requiring the COVID vaccine is not, in their world, unusual because there's already vaccine requirements. So find out what is the protocol and what happens if your child is one that is choosing not to be vaccinated. If you can't show the magic vaccine card, then your child may be put in a position of having to have weekly or every other week COVID tests paid for by the student, by the way. The university charges the student for that. So probably that's something you need to know and look into. By the way, in chatting on the JP, Kathy, and the Crew show, I was alerted to the fact by Kathy that many parents think that we still have online school available, and we don't. What TEA, Texas Education Agency, has said is you can have virtual schools districts. We just won't pay you for the day that the kid spends having school virtually. So we can use the magic of tech that we've all gotten better at the last year and a half to help kids that are homesick stay up with their work, but they still have to claim a sick day, and the school cannot then get paid for that. So have you really understood not only what school looks like in the fall for your child and what the COVID protocols are? Because there will still be COVID protocols. There may even be some taking of the temperatures, social distancing, probably 3 feet versus 6 feet. Mask wearing is optional. That's optional as far as the parents are concerned. Parents make that decision, not the school. So find that out. Here's another tip for preparing kids for college readiness. Read as much as possible. I know that some of you won't be surprised when I tell you that I don't see kids reading much during the summer, especially older kids. They have jobs, they're socializing, and yet then they get to college and bam, here come these big old, probably in our world now it's online text, right? But it's a lot of reading. And so encouraging your child to get better at reading during the summer and making sure that they keep those reading eyes going, get that reading brain, ask them questions, even the older kids. And I'll tell you, a lot of schools have reading lists that they want the secondary kids to do and do it during the summer. So make sure that those kids have the books, that they are encouraged to structure reading time every day, and then ask them questions about what they're reading. It'll probably be interesting to you, especially if you had to read the book when you were a child, and applying the premise of the book to today versus when you read the book and what things were like when you were reading it 20 years ago, whatever. So again, the constant theme that I have for you all is looking for opportunities to talk to your kids, right? And to talk to them in a relevant manner around relevant topics. So read as much as possible, and then research possible college majors that probably should not be something you wait for the summer before they go to college. That conversation should have already been ongoing. It should have been part of their high school time. There is software that high schools have that kids should be going online pretty regularly, especially the last 2 years. But I know that, for example, in our district, we start them in 6th grade on the college career readiness softwares, and we build up their time with it over the years that they are middle school and then high school. And so, again, if I'm talking about something that you know nothing about and you've got kids in secondary, there's a gap in your knowledge that needs to be filled. So let me know if you have gaps and you don't know what to do next. My email address is on the website, the Ask Dr. Be Good website, the Dr. Be Good at AskDrBeGood.com, and I'll be happy to help you. I'll be happy to help you with the words that you need, because a lot of times that's what parents are missing. Now all of a sudden they understand that there's a gap of knowledge, but then they don't know what to do next. Let me help you with that. Okay. Next one is polished social, people, and soft skills. And really, some of that is used differently. So they've lumped sort of a big topic under one tip: polish social, people, and soft skills. So the soft skills are those business skills that we need to really help us deal with people in a work setting. But it can also be used, I suppose, in a school setting as far as courtesy, respect, showing cultural diversity, cultural value and awareness. All of that now falls under the soft skills that are needed in the workplace. And then people skills and social skills, a lot of that, if you're lucky enough to have your child in a PBL school, project-based learning high school, they're getting that. They are learning to collaborate together as kids. They're learning to do their projects in front of adults, where adults ask them questions. Kids have to reflect and answer questions. And so, but you can be doing that. If your child doesn't go to a PBL high school, there's other ways that can be done. But it's important understanding that that's really skills that they need and need to be working on before the summer of their freshman year. Time management skills. That's huge. Time management, adults need, right? And certainly kids who are going away to college, even if they're living at home and going to college is a different environment. The professors look at them as adults. The professors do not contact parents. They are there to help the students grow into adults, and some of them do it better than others as far as how gruff and how tough they can be. Some of them are going to be tough, just like teachers in high school. Some of them were tougher than others. Some of them you really liked, and some you were just glad to pass their class and get out of there. College professors are the same, and so preparing to use your people skills to navigate the rougher professors is probably a wise idea. But making sure that you don't trigger some of that gruffness by being late with your assignments and so forth. The time management skills would be a very good way of doing that. Now, how do you do that? Well, there are smartphone apps that students can find to help them limit and schedule entertainment, social media, and to keep study schedules going. So, research that. There are answers out there already for you. Weigh getting a job freshman year, and this is also high school. Should you be working and going to school your first college year? A lot of people say no. It depends on the family situation. If the family can't afford to send you, extra money, then probably you might have to work, and that means your load may need to be a little bit lighter, but that's okay. That's okay. It all works out in the end. Now, if you haven't filled out the FAFSA, and FAFSA is the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, FAFSA. And it is mandatory for kids to fill that out in Texas, and parents have to help. You have to put your income on there. But really, that's a way of getting student aid to help ease some of the burdens, because money should not be the issue of why you don't go to college or vocational school. So, and this is also a reminder here that before making decisions to work as college freshmen, students should talk to their family about financial expectations. And a great idea is to keep in touch with the financial aid office. If a family's financial situation changes in the months before freshman college, there are options to get more help to pay for college. And so the FAFSA is a way of doing that. And really, again, hopefully this is not the first time you've heard the word FAFSA. I've said it on podcasts. Your college counselors have asked for those to be filled out. There's almost no way of getting out of filling out a FAFSA if you want your child to graduate high school and go to college. So if you haven't heard of it, let me know. We'll get that information to you. Another good one is know how to be safe on campus. It is always a good idea to understand how to get help at any new place that you go, especially if you're living off campus. But even if you are at campus while living at home, there are ways of staying safe and ways of not staying safe. So know how to get a hold of the safety officers there at your campus. Get telephone numbers of the campus police in your phone and so forth. Now, there's several more. There's 6 more tips, but I will encourage you to go and look at the article, read the article, and then we'll go from there. But college readiness is an ongoing thing, at least starting in middle school, if not earlier. And the earlier ones would be the expectations parents are voicing to kids about going to college or vocational school or military. Those are all part of the parents developing kids into those future workers and future entrepreneurs. So that's my segment for our older students. Now we're going to transition to some younger students information. And this article caught my eye out of Parent Magazine. And Parents Magazine, it can be accessed at parent.com. And what we need to do is help kids, young kids especially, get messy and play messy and get dirty. You say, well, okay, why, right? None of us likes the thought of having to clean up after messy kids, right? But here's the thing. The truth is that getting wet or sticky is a component of healthy development for children. Think of messy play as turning on your child's brain, says Megan Fitzgerald, a former elementary school principal who founded Tinker Garden, which is an outdoor education program. When they're covered with mud, they're feeling, they're seeing, they're hearing, and they're smelling the mud. All of their senses are activated and their neurons are lighting up. And by the way, kids are known to eat dirt, and there are prebiotics in dirt that are very, very healthy for kids. Not that we're encouraging kids to go out there with a fork or a spoon, but it's now known that there's a science out there around why it's so good for kids to be out in the dirt and eat dirt. So this is just more evidence of how healthy it is to be outside and getting dirty. So all of their neurons are lighting up. However, if kids are deprived of a chance to get messy, they can have trouble tolerating certain textures, which may contribute to issues like picky eating, says Pittsburgh-based occupational therapist Alicia Grogan. If a kid isn't comfortable touching something unfamiliar, they may not want to put it in their mouth either. These days, providing kids with the opportunity to get dirty is more important than ever, given that many of them have been sitting in front of a device, right? We know that for much of the year, explains Jeffrey Hutchinson, MD, an Austin-based pediatrician and co-author of the most recent guidelines on play from the American Pediatric Association. Online play is structured and limited. The brain isn't picking up those different type of input. To get kids started, we've offered up four full sensory ways that they can make a glorious mess. Well, we're just going to give you a couple of them and encourage you to go to the article in parents.com and read more on it. But these really were cute, and it caught my eye where we have splatter paint. Right here we have kids just having a blast, and what they are encouraging parents to do is to get a painter's drop cloth or large flattened cardboard box, and you can get paper, 8.5 by 11 or larger, washable tempera paints in squirt bottles, and cotton cosmetic rounds, pieces of cotton, round cotton, wooden spoons or mallets and other tools, and you lay the drop cloth or the cardboard down, preferably outside, and then you put the paper down there. You may have to pin it to the drop cloth because of the wind, but then you can encourage your kids to do a couple different things. One is they put a blob of different colored paints on their paper, and they can take a wooden spoon and smash the blobs. So there's splatter everywhere, right? They're splattering paint. And then they could take a blob on a cotton ball and put it down on the paper and smash that. And they could either leave the blob there or take it off, however they artistically want to do their artwork. And so they're just, you can experiment with layering colors, changing up the method, which is squirt the paint on the paper and then or on the round of cotton. You can put different amounts of paint. You can again decorate with other things. You can put glitter out there. But the next thing that they don't mention that I would encourage as an educator is after these art pieces dry, then what we do is we look at them and we have kids reflect. Does that remind us of anything? It's like looking at clouds, right? Or looking at stars at night. And we look for figures that sort of jump out at us. And then we might create a story or a poem around our art piece. Something else I used to do when I was with third graders, teaching third grade, it's when it was art time, because back then we didn't have art teachers. We were the art teacher. And we would take, well, no, first we would do a haiku poem. We would have kids do haiku because we had to study haiku and the form. It's, you know, what is it? 575 syllables. And then after they did their haiku stanza, then they would take drops of paint, drop it on their paper where they had written their stanza, and they would take a straw and they would blow and they would push the paint around, because the paint then, as you were pushing it, blowing it with the wind from the straw, it formed a little wavery line. And if you've seen Chinese or Japanese art, there's a lot of wavery greenery and bushes and so forth. And so kids were able to do this sort of Japanese looking artwork on their poems. And so think of all the brain work going on there. All right. And then the other thing that they have in here to make is make pasta noodles. Have your kids, and again, they're working with young kids here, but of course you can make them with the older kids. But this boy looks to be 9 or 10, and this little girl looks to be 5. And it encourages you to make pasta noodles because it's messy. You have 2 cups of flour, 4 large eggs, plastic wrap, salt, rolling pin, all this stuff. And so, you know, there's a lot of having to take that flour and it says when the flour starts flying, as it surely will, scoot the kids outdoors to pronto and let them have at it. But the thing that caught my eye here is because you all know that I'm a big proponent of helping our kids make and bake their own food, right? So imagine if we had kids making the pasta noodles, maybe even using some safe dye out there to color the noodles and cooking them and then having them for spaghetti. Just, to me, that's relevant art, relevant eating, relevant form of play that leads to lots of neat conversations around the kitchen, around nutrition. And yet all those neurons in the brain are being activated, which is exactly what you want at the young ages. So that leads us to then finishing our article on healthy eating, because summertime is a great time to really concentrate on what is going into our kids' bodies, right? We've got a little bit more time. They're home more. They're eating more. And so remember last time we talked about having grow, and glow foods. And WOW, remember? Go is energy foods. Glow is good nutritional for your body. Glow, again, good anti-inflammatory foods. And then the WOW foods are fats, sugars, and so forth that you can have a little bit of, right? So tips for encouraging kids to eat healthy foods. Don't forget to encourage the go, grow, glow foods. Don't forbid certain foods. When a food is labeled as being bad, it can sometimes make it even more enticing and lead to craving it and overindulging it. So it's better to try to limit unhealthy foods. And I read an article last week about a lady was writing about her food addiction and how after 2 years with a food therapist, she was able to understand that instead of depriving herself from the foods that she was craving, she should actually buy lots and lots and lots of them and keep them in the house. Because if her brain knew that they were there and she could have them anytime she wanted, she didn't, because she had worked on some food maintenance and discipline on herself. But knowing those foods were there just made a psych difference for her. And I told this to a friend of mine, and the friend said, yeah, she said, my mom used to keep a bowl of chocolates in our house, and the only kids that ate the chocolate were kids from other families whose parents wouldn't do that. Huh. So interesting. Add a fruit and vegetable to every meal. You can introduce them by having plenty of washed and prepped fruit and veggies ready to go. Leave a fruit bowl with apples and bananas and oranges to make it easy for kids to grab and go. Encourage younger kids to eat from every color of the rainbow. I bet you could do that. See how many colors you can get into one healthy, kid-friendly meal. Adding diced vegetables into dishes like lasagna, tacos, or spaghetti sauce. I make vegetable spaghetti now, and I use palmini. Palmini is hearts of palm in the shape of spaghetti. So it's a vegetable that I use as my spaghetti. And then be a good role model. Eat your veggies and your fruits and your kids see you eat that, so that they're more likely to follow. Cook more meals at home. There'll be less salt, less sugar in them, less bad stuff, less woe stuff. Eating at home gives you a lot more control over your kids' nutritional needs and how they're fulfilling that. And you'll probably save money too. Eating meals together is also a great way to connect with family. You've heard me say that a gazillion times. Get kids involved in shopping for groceries and preparing healthy meals. I won't belabor that because you've heard me say that. Watch the sugar, limit the sugary drinks. Serve appropriate portion sizes. And My Plate is a great source of nutritional information. My Plate is an updated version of what you may remember as the food pyramid. It's a great way to meet your kids' nutritional needs with the right portion sizes and food categories. Allow kids to serve. As soon as children are able, let them serve themselves. Let them know it's okay to ask for more if they're still hungry. Remind them that they should listen to their body to determine whether they're full. Fuel with healthy snacks. And you can have apples and peanut butter, cheese and carrots, hummus and bell pepper. So think outside the box. A good way to cut back on processed snacks and ones with added sugar is to avoid foods that come in a box or in a bag. If it can stay on a shelf for months or even years, it's probably not a healthy snack. And speaking of bags like chips, I read something recently about chips that you buy at the dollar store. And again, this is one of those things that there's things going on behind our backs that we're not even aware of. And that is that dollar store or different dollar store, because there's different Dollar General, dollar store, and so forth, they partner with, let's say, Cheetos or some of the other chip folks, Frito-Lay, and you're getting a bag of their Frito-Lays, but the reason why they're cheaper at the dollar store is because there's less in them. And so we think, cool, we're buying a bag of Cheetos at the dollar store that nothing costs $1 at the dollar store anymore, right? But it's cheaper than if I bought it at the grocery store. Well, no, that's because they put less in it. So I don't know that I guess I'm not devious in that way. That was a new understanding for me in the marketing world. So be careful. If it's too cheap, wonder why. As always, we are coming to the end of our time together. I hope that I'm helping you with knowing how to use your summer more effectively to the benefit of your family and of your kids. The secondary kids do need to be thinking college readiness, but they need to be thinking it along with you. And so, again, reach out to me if you need more information about that. Making sure we keep our kids doing really fun, messy, dirty play. Now we know it's good for the brain. So let's let them do that on a pretty regular basis. Let's keep them off those devices this summer as much as possible. And don't forget, the reason I'm here is to help you become a stronger advocate for public education. Please let me know if you need help in that area as well. Otherwise, just stay tuned every week and, we'll just figure it out together. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.